Hello and welcome back to the course on Introduction to Solid-State Physics. In the last few classes we have been discussing about the concept of phonons, and based on that we have obtained the heat capacity of the solids and how it varies with the absolute temperature. In that context we have discussed about the classical theory, that means using the Boltzmann equipartition theorem how you can explain the observed experimental result. Then we incorporated the quantum corrections in terms of the Einstein's theory and the Debye model. In the Debye model, we saw that the heat capacity variation with respect to temperature is not that much in close agreement with the experimental observation in a narrow temperature range. That means where there is a transition between the TQ dependence and the saturation of the heat capacity with respect to temperature. In that transition area there is a mismatch, and it was attributed to the continuum theory of the solid and the improper description of the phonon dispersion relation. So in this lecture we will try to obtain a proper explanation or proper expression for the phonon dispersion relation, and in that context we are going to discuss the dynamics of the chain of atoms. We will restrict ourselves only to the one-dimensional chain of atoms. In the first video we will be discussing for a monoatomic system. In the second video we will be discussing for a diatomic system. So this is a cubic arrangement of the atoms inside a lattice, inside a solid, and each atom is having a mass m, and they are connected with each other through a spring or spring constant k, because the bonds can be thought of as a spring or spring constant k, and the vibration of each atom about the mean equilibrium position is going to describe a valid picture for the lattice vibration. So we will be having this simplistic picture in our mind. That means the atoms are vibrating with respect to their mean equilibrium position, and they are connected with each other through the springs of spring constant k. Now let us shift to a one-dimensional chain of monoatomic system. That means only one type of atom is present, and we are restricting ourselves, as I told, to the one-dimensional chain. And this is the corresponding chain. It is extending towards infinity in both the directions, and this number n, the number of atoms n, is very large. So n tends to infinity, and in fact we can think that they form a ring. That means all the atoms, they are having the identical surrounding. There is no edge of the atoms in the chain, and they are having the identical surroundings, and they are having the same environment. And this un, or this un plus 1, un minus 1, are the corresponding displacement for the nth atom, or the n plus first atom, or the n minus 1th atom. So like that, this u represents the displacement about their mean position. And we know that under the harmonic approximation, under the elastic limit, the force must be proportional to the displacement. So that is F is proportional to U. So under this limit, let us first obtain the force acting on this nth atom. So for the nth atom, there are two neighbors. One is the n plus 1th, and other one is the n plus 1. And these two neighboring atoms are going to impart the corresponding force, and this force will be k into un minus 1. K is the corresponding spring constant, and it is the same between different atoms, between all the atoms, because all the atoms are identical in this case. So towards the left, the force that is being acted on this nth atom is k into un minus 1, and to the right, the force that is experienced by the nth atom by the n plus 1th atom is k into un plus 1 minus un. Now our next task will be to write down the corresponding equation of motion, and first let us write the total force acting on the nth atom. So that will be the sum of these two forces, and since the force is a vector quantity, that's why the negative sign is here. Now we can write the corresponding equation of motion. Since the atoms are having the mass capital M, so m d square un by dt square is equal to the total force. So the rate of change of momentum is equal to the total force acting on the system. So here we are focusing on the nth atom, that's why we are considering only the forces that are being acted upon this nth atom by the n plus 1 and n minus 1 nth atom. Now let us assume a solution of this form, and this is a traveling wave solution, and here this a is the amplitude, and omega is the frequency, x and 0 is the equilibrium position of the nth atom, and about this equilibrium position the atom is moving, and x and 0 is equal to n into a, where a is the separation between the atoms. In fact, we can call it as the lattice parameter. If you go to this diagram here a is the lattice parameter, and x and 0 is equal to n times a, because there is a repetition of this particular lattice with a lattice parameter a, and n is an integer. So x and 0 is equal to n into a. A is the capital A is the amplitude, and small a is the lattice parameter, and omega is the frequency. Now we can put the solution back into the equation of motion, and we can get this corresponding result. The left hand side we have to differentiate 2 times with respect to time, so we will get this, and in the right hand side simply you have to substitute the corresponding un, the corresponding displacement in terms of the corresponding this particular solution, then we will obtain this expression. Okay, so now this particular expression can further be simplified, because e to the power I qa and e to the power minus I qa terms are there, so that can be expressed as the cosine function. So minus omega square m is equal to 2k cos qa minus 1. So this 2 factor has been taken out, and 2k has been taken as common quantity. It is 2k into cos qa minus 1. Now in this we can obtain the corresponding so this omega square m, so this cos qa minus 1 can be written as 2 times sine square of qa by 2, because we know that cos 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine square theta. So this relation has been used here. So cos 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine square theta. So here 2 theta is qa, and cos 2 theta minus 1 is minus of twice sine square theta. That is what has been written here. Omega square m is equal to 4k sine square q by a. Now it is easy to get the corresponding phonon dispersion relation, that is the relation between omega versus q. Omega versus q, we got the corresponding relation, that is omega is equal to root over of 4k by m times the magnitude of sine of qa by 2, and we can say that it is always a positive quantity, because this frequency, if it is negative, it has got no physical significance, so that's why we have to take the mod of sine of qa by 2. And there here k is the spring constant and m is the mass of the atom, and the maximum value for the sine function is 1. So omega is equal to, you can write it as omega maximum, that is root over of 4k by m times sine qa by 2, and this is the corresponding phonon dispersion relation. So here the maximum frequency is root over of 4k by m. Now let us try to plot this dispersion relation in the fast Brillouin zone. So this is the plot. So this is the corresponding plot. We can see this is omega versus q, and the Brillouin zone is from minus pi by a to plus pi by a, and this is the maximum value of the frequency, that is root over of 4k by m, 4k by m, and this is the corresponding variation sin qa by 2. And as we go to the next Brillouin zone, this is the variation, this is the second Brillouin zone. So what does it tell? So the dispersion curve is not only having a translational symmetry, but also it is having a mirror symmetry, because omega of minus q is equal to omega of q. And earlier when we had the continuum relation, so omega was proportional to q, but here we can see as we go towards higher value of q, towards higher wave vector values, how the continuum picture is changing. That is what we can see. For low values of q, we can see that the continuum picture is still valid. Now we can obtain the phase velocity. We know the relation for the phase velocity is omega by q, and we know the formula for omega. So simply we have written it, that is 2 into root over of k by m sin qa by 2 by q, and this can be little bit can be expressed in a proper manner. So let us write it as a into root over of k by m sin qa by 2 by qa by 2. So this 2 factor and this extra a factor is coming here. So the same thing has been multiplied on the numerator, and this can be written as Vp to be equal to one parameter which is constant. A is the lattice parameter, m is the mass of the atom, and k is the spring constant. So Vp can be written as V times sin qa by 2 by qa by 2. So here V is called as the ordinary speed of sound in the solid and is equal to a into root over of k by m. But the more important thing for a traveling wave is to obtain the group velocity, which is the first derivative of omega with respect to q. So Vg, which is the group velocity, can be written as d omega by dq and is equal to V cos qa by 2. The phase velocity is the velocity of propagation for a pure wave for an exactly specified omega and q, but that is not the real case. We have to consider a wave packet rather than a single pure wave, and for that purpose we have to define the group velocity, because the energy and momentum are physically transmitted via the wave packets. So group velocity is physically much more significant than the phase velocity, and we can see that at low values of q, as q tends to 0, both the phase and the group velocity both are equal to the ordinary speed of elastic waves in the solid. That means Vp is equal to Vg as q tends to 0. Whereas for longer wavelengths, the lattice behaves as a continuum and no dispersion taking place. So let us go back to this diagram here. So here we can see this is the region for the longer wavelength. That means q is in fact is equal to 2 pi by lambda. We know it. So that means when q tends to 0, so lambda is very large. That's why this region is called as the longer wavelength region. And in this region, we can see that the continuum picture is still valid. And under this continuum picture, we are having the phase velocity to be equal to the group velocity. So this is the dispersion relation for a one-dimensional monoatomic chain. In the next video, we will be learning how the dispersion relation looks for a diatomic linear chain, and we will see how the occurrence of the band gap takes place in the corresponding phonon dispersion relation.